Welcome to Stacking the Dealer, the podcast where we talk cars, sales, strategy, and what it takes to win in the auto industry. No fluff, no corporate scripts, just real conversations from inside the dealership world. Anthony Birdsong from the giant Hampstead Pre-Owned. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Well, how are things going over there at Always Auto?
You know, it's okay. We had a tough June. And I'm not sure why. So we're trying to dissect and analyze, figure out what's going on. Our lead count was there, down a little bit, but lead count was there. I feel like our inventory was good. So we're trying to dissect that right now, get off to a little better start in July. It's always better, and I think every car guy or anybody in sales can relate to this. It's always better when you start off good rather than feel like you're playing catch up throughout the month. I had an interesting call with Mannheim today. Holy moly. I've never wanted to reach through the phone and punch somebody so bad in my life. My rep, who apparently isn't actually a rep, his job is to get new business, not take care of his existing customers, is what I was told. And then his boss was on the phone. I had reached out to his boss because I wasn't getting help. I had cars in arbitration, no answers from the arbitrators. We had cars that had been unwound. We haven't reimbursed on our transport yet, and just nobody answers. And so this guy gets on the phone and he talks over me, belittles me. I mean, it was just, I was shocked. And then he told me he was a factory guy, worked for General Motors for 20 years, and it made a lot more sense after that.
So let's walk through that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the call and how it went and how
So
did
they
you
asked, what are my
do it?
problems? And he starts off with, first off, I got to tell you, you arbitrate more cars than anybody I've ever seen. And I said, well, I just arbitrate it based on the condition report. I said, I probably do more cosmetic arbitration than anybody for sure, because I go on the condition report. If condition report's accurate, I got nothing to arbitrate. If the transmission's good, I got nothing to arbitrate. And I told him, I said, you guys cater to sellers. And he jumps in, tries to talk over the top. He's, oh, have you been to the Mullane? We had 600 buyers this today, blah, whatever. I said, I'm not saying that you don't have buyers that show up. I said, you cater to sellers. And what I mean by that is I said, here's a great example. I said, I had a car I bought, Ford Edge Titanium, 2017 something, cheap merchandise, loaded, good shape. I do really, really well with those. As I'm plugging into my stock wave, I told them I'm a Cox person. My payroll is Cox. My DMS is Cox. Up until recently, my CRM was Cox. I use Dealer Track, blah, blah, blah.
So what you're saying is you love Cox.
I don't, but they're the best at certain areas. And I
You
told him,
like
I said,
big
here's the
ones or
important thing. I
small
said,
ones?
Mannheim,
Or
you're
do
the
you
pretty
prefer
girl with the
big
ball.
ones?
Huh?
Do you prefer big ones or small ones? Okay, go ahead.
So I told him, I said, you guys are the pretty girl at the bar. You know you're the pretty girl at the bar, and there's no other options, really. And I said, you guys are primed for somebody like Carvana to come in and revamp Odessa and just take over if they take care of the buyers. And I said, here's a great example. Ford Edge Titanium. I buy it, or I put it in my stock wave. I'm looking at it and I go, holy smokes, I appraised this car back in January. So I go over to my recon tool, which isn't Cox, but I go over to my recon tool, plug it in, and I go, I arbitrated this car back in January for a transmission. No way that the transmission's still bad. Surely it's not. I buy it. I win the bid. I arbitrated immediately. I don't even let it leave the auction. I arbitrated immediately for a transmission. And it comes back a couple days later, which was shocking how quick. Yes, transmission's bad. I said, there's a great example. Then I look at the history on the car. It had sold 2 other times between January and now at Mannheim. And I'm assuming got arbitrated for a bad transmission. You guys know it has a bad transmission 4 times over now at this point, and you still let the seller run it as a green light. The only reason the guy's running it as a green light is he hopes it takes too long to get picked up outside of the arbitration window, or hopes that whoever buys it misses the transmission. You guys know it's a bad transmission. You're still letting the seller, and his argument was, well, seller can sell it at whatever he wants. You're right. He can. And Sewell sells all their cars on a red light. Sure, they do, because they don't want to screw with it. And I've been at stores where I've done that before too. Don't want to mess with anything. Everything's a red light. But the problem is you guys know in this particular case that this car has a bad transmission and you keep putting it back in the auction. I go, that's just one example of how you guys are more of a seller's auction. You treat the sellers better than you do the buyers. And anyways, he attempted to defend himself, and then it got a little heated because after a while, I'm only going to take so many on the chin. And then finally, my rep was actually jumping in a little bit. And I said, I'm not going to argue. This is getting confrontational. And he's like, what do you need from Mannheim? I don't want to lose you as a customer. So I don't know. You guys figure out what you can do for me. That's it. I'm over it.
We have a very stringent, strict process around arbitration. We buy a car. I've used the same transporter forever. We buy cars from all over the country. He logs into my Manheim every day and he gets the cars transported. Never have had one issue, knock on wood, with him transporting cars. They get here within 10 days. If they're not going to be here within 10 days, if we buy a car out of California or something like that, we immediately do a PSI. But I would say 95% of our cars get here within 10 days. All of my guys have not only read, but have studied the arbitration policy. We understand how to arbitrate a car for cosmetics. We understand how to arbitrate a car for mechanics. We understand how to deal with the arbitrators. And because I buy so many cars, I generally get treated relatively fairly. Now, that wasn't always the case. And for most of you guys that don't buy 55 or 60 cars a week, it's not going to be the case. Make no mistake about it, just like Josh said, Manheim is designed to be a seller-first platform because if they don't sell cars, they don't make money. What they don't realize is that when you don't have buyers, you also don't make money. But like Josh said, as buyers, we don't have a lot of choice. You know, it's very difficult to buy cars off the street because you have Carvana, CarMax, Drive Time, and everybody else and their mother trying to buy cars off the street. It's very difficult to buy cars from the different platforms that exist, ACB, ADESA, and everyone else. And Manheim is the elephant in the room. I mean, they are the biggest auction that exists. So we are left to deal with them. I tend to agree with you almost completely that the CRs are not good. The sellers are all out to fuck you. And that if you don't have an incredibly strong process, you are going to get fucked.
And so, here's the thing, though, Anthony. Here's that I'm a realist. I fully understand they're sending cars to the auction. They may or may not know it has. They may send something that they think is front line, and it got old because not one of the salespeople told them that the transmission shutter is going from second to third, and every customer who drove it. So I fully get it. But the problem is when there's a problem, Manheim should step up and go, hey, that was your problem, not the buyer's problem.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that for a minute. Prior to purchase, we go through a very stringent process. We read every Carfax, we read every auto check, we read every CR, we look at every picture, we determine what we're going to sell the car for before we buy it. We understand what the recon costs are going to be from the things that are visible in the CR. We know what the auction fees are and what the transportation fees are, and we do quick math and we come up with what we can pay for the car, and then we get the car and we check every car out very thoroughly when it first arrives. We spend about 25 to 45 minutes on a test drive with the car, bring it in, look at everything, and we arbitrate when we have an arbitratable issue. I absolutely agree with you 100%. Manheim is in the business of making sure that cars sell and keeping deals together, and it creates a lot of contention between the seller, the buyer, and the auction. And all Manheim would have to do is something like this. Look, this car was sold with a bad transmission. If Manheim was honorable, what Manheim would do is say, if you don't verify with one of our technicians that this transmission was fixed, we're running it with a transmission announcement, fucking period. It was arbitrated once, it came back once, and from now on, or you do something like this. If you sell a car with a green light that has an issue that it's been arbitrated for, and it comes back for that same issue, it's a $2,000 fee.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying arbitrations in general because things come up, right? But if you know it got sent back for it, whole different story.
We're talking about, two different things, and I agree with you. So if the seller has had a car that was previously arbitrated for a known issue, and they sell the car green light again, it's a $2,000 fee, period. Everybody stops doing it. When people won't hold themselves accountable, it's up to society or the people involved in their circle to hold them accountable for their actions. And we don't do that as a whole. And so this whole business, the whole car industry is designed on fucking each other. This guy fucks that guy and that guy fucks this guy. And it's just this big fuck fest. And it's one of the reasons why the car business can be so frustrating at times. And so believe me, I've dealt with my fair share of issues with Manheim. And I'm telling you, there are 1,000 things that they could do to solve the problems that they run up against every day. But what they're scared of is, well, if we tell Honda Financial that they're going to pay a $2,000 fee and they go over to Adesso, we're going to lose market share. And this is the issue that constantly comes up with pissing off the sellers. Because the reality is, here's what's really sad. We as buyers have to fucking go there. It's not like we have an option. And this is part of the problem with these big companies getting so fucking big. Because as they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, customer service goes out the window. Look, I've been in the car business since I was 14 years old. When my uncles and I would go to the auctions when I was young, you'd get baseball game tickets and you'd win prizes and they were appreciative of your business. All that shit's gone now. It's all gone. They don't give a fuck. And I'm not quite sure why they don't give a fuck, except that they, or like many other corporations, got to a point where they don't think their shit stinks anymore. And unfortunately, there's always some smarter, younger, hungrier company that comes along and says, here's an opportunity. And I really believed in some of these other companies that popped up, but then they just start going right down the same path as what some of these bigger auction houses do. And I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. They don't want to, they go, hey, we got this guy, he's going to run 200 a week on Wednesdays. And then they do everything that they can to make sure that that guy is taken care of. And it's like, well, wait a sec. I'm fine with it, but let's make sure we're not screwing people over. And that's car business has been like that forever. And
let's talk about the fucking CR jumps. I mean, look, a lot of people don't pay attention to the auction the way that I do. Okay. I'm just going to tell you guys, I operate like a stockbroker, a serious stockbroker operates on stocks. I have no emotion. Everything is numbers. We log in, we look at everything, we document everything. So for example, CRs were changing on us so much that we started writing every single CR in the note the first time we look at the car. And I'm fucking telling you, as God is my witness, cars will jump from a 2.2 CR at 10 o'clock in the morning to a 4.4 CR by 11:30. And I'm just telling you, these seller first CRs are an absolute fucking disaster for everyone. They're a disaster for the buyers, they're a disaster for the auctions, and they're a disaster for the sellers, to be honest with you. We should create CRs that are at least neutral, if not buyer friendly, because the majority of us are buying these cars without touching them, without feeling them, without driving them, without smelling them. And when they're not represented properly, they get pissed at us. And that's not fair.
And that's what he tried doing with me. Well, you're never in the lane, and I'm never going to be in the lane. That's not happening. I'm not driving to Dallas. I mean, I'd have to go to 4 auctions a week. That's not happening.
Shit, you can't go to 4 auctions.
I win percentage on my arbitrations. I win most of the time, so I'm accurate.
Listen, if you tried to go to 4 auctions a week, you would fail. The reality is this: if you want to be a successful dealership, do you know how many auctions that we buy from to buy 50 cars a week?
Oh, I can imagine.
45 auctions. We're at 45 different auctions to buy 50 cars a week, every single week. So if I went to just now pre-COVID, I used to go to 4 auctions. I went to CarMax on Monday. I went to Baltimore on Tuesday. I went to New Jersey on Wednesday, and I went to Bel Air on Thursday, and sometimes I went to Pennsylvania on Friday, although it was never worth it because those cars did $3,000-$4,000 over retail. So I used to buy 50 cars a week at 4 auctions, and then COVID hit. And everybody that really was a buyer will understand this. You go to the auction and, inventory got tight and your options just weren't there. And so you start to expand out and you're buying from more and more auctions. And as you grow, you start to get to a point where more and more auctions open up to you because you understand how to do it. And look, I'm not bitching. This is just the reality of the situation. The auctions should be set up different now that this is an online game. We have got to be a little bit more fair to the buyer. And the reality is there should be third party verifiable condition reports. And really, to be honest with you, there should be true third party arbitrations. The auction should completely remove themselves from CRs and arbitrations. They should have nothing to do with it. They should separate it as a company and have different metrics that do not tie into their sales and how many cars are put out by the auction, because it ends up in this situation where, and I've talked to arbitrators at Mannheim about this, their job is to keep deals together. That's their job.
Let me ask you this. What do you think, this might be outside the box, but what do you think about the auction? And I know it's not going to be perfect, but pre-inspecting every car, stepping up the inspection somehow with better pictures, blah, 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 but doing mechanical inspections, and then selling them disclosed. Obviously, they're going to miss stuff, that sort of thing. So you'd have to have, some sort of out for them in that area. But what do you think?
I swear to God, Mannheim could put a whole business plan together around this. You charge $200 a car for a disclosed car extra, and everything is known, and you can arbitrate that car for anything that's missed. I mean, literally everything is there. They could create a whole business model around doing just that. But again, it's like this. It's like teaching the old dog new tricks. Look, I just read this amazing book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And they talk about all these different companies that violate the different rules of marketing. And across all the books I've read, there is this reoccurring theme with these big corporate companies. They get too big for their own good and they stop caring. Because the reality is, how are you going to compete with Mannheim? What are you going to do? Like, we're pissed. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do? Go open an auction. Go compete with them. And it's like, all right, well, how do we do that? And okay, you need this and you need this and you need this. The reality is, but every once in a while, some crazy motherfucker comes along and disrupts the whole industry and starts doing things a little bit different. And it takes off, right? You look at Blockbuster, look at Netflix, look at Walmart.
And that's exactly what I told them. I go, everybody hates Mannheim. They hate your CRs. They hate everything. They hate your shipping company. The market is primed to leave Mannheim. The problem is there's not a good option. All it's going to take is, a Carvana to go, hey, let's sink a couple $1 billion into this. And that's all it's going to take.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you will have more buyers at that sale, and you have to figure out a way to really compete. But, again,
and you got to do it different. You got to have the balls to do it different. Like you said, here you go. We're going to, $200 fee for whatever, or, maybe add it to the sell fee, buy fee, something. And that goes into a little kitty to take care of, customer satisfaction issues. And maybe you pre-inspect everything. I mean, I don't know what the full answer is, but
what about coming back to holding sellers accountable? What if it's like, look, you have too many problems. We don't want you as a seller. You're not going to bump CRs. When a CR is done, if you want to bump the CR, you got to pull the car from the auction, and you got to file some kind of appeal process to bump a CR.
You got to show me that you did something to the car.
Yeah, I mean, like taking a 2.2 CR and turning it into a 4.7 in an hour, it's not happening.
And I'm fine with if that's your business, because there's guys out there that's what they do. They buy rougher cars, they take them back, they recondition them, put them back in the auction. Totally fine. Different story from what you and I are talking about, where you buy a 2.4 and all of a sudden you get your favorite, inspector, and all of a sudden it's a 4.2.
Absolutely, 100%. So, look, everything that you're talking about, it's not foreign to anyone that's in the car business. We all have these problems. I mean,
there's about 100. Well, we have 2 listeners probably. So 2 guys right now are listening to this going, oh, brother, I know exactly what you mean.
That's right. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
it's
and this kind of ties into the next thing that we wanted to talk about, which was service, right? And so
yep,
you buy these cars from the auction, and 50% of them have some kind of underlined issue that nobody is going to catch unless they drive the car for 2 weeks. And then next thing you know, the car comes back 2 weeks later, and you have got to play, find the issue. And you end up in this situation where we as car dealers end up getting shit because we sold a car that has a problem that we didn't know had a problem when we sold it.
yep.
And so how do you effectively run your car dealership when 97% of your cars are purchased cars from the auction and 75% of them have some kind of underlying issue that no mechanic, no matter how good they are, could find before you sold the car? And so you're dealing with a 60 or 70% comeback rate in your service department, and all the bad reviews that come with that, and all the pissed off customers that come with that, and all the money that you want to lose with that. And this is where we start talking about that fuck fest. You got the
Yep.
auction that wants to fuck you. You got the seller that wants to fuck you. You got you got the third party sites that want to fuck you. You got the tech companies that want to fuck you. I mean, everybody wants everything, and you're left in this situation where everybody makes money but the dealers. The floor plan makes money. The auction makes money. The seller makes money. Everybody makes money, but when we put a car up for a profit, it doesn't sell. Because you have these other people that are, selling a car for $2,000 or $3,000 less than market, and then adding $8,000 in hidden fees.
Preach.
Yep.
It's and I don't, and I'm sure the solution isn't as easy. We're probably simplifying it a little bit, but at the end of the day, I have a firm belief that you take care of the customers. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do, and it'll be okay in the end. And instead, it's just a game of whack-a-mole with Manheim, and it gets frustrating. And that's what I told him. The frustrating thing is, I had a deal. I had a Deal Shield car. I'm on Deal Shield Select or whatever it's called, so not Deal Shield on every car, only on certain ones. And of course, they've messaged me and said, "Hey, you're sending too many back. We're going to raise your rate." Shocker. But I had a deal. It was it had dog urine all in the car, so I arbitrated it for biohazard, and it sat at Manheim for 20 days. And finally, I said, "Hey guys, if I don't have an answer, I have to deal shield this car." And I did, because nobody ever got back to me. And it's like, that just, it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be
The
that hard.
amount of time that it takes to arbitrate a car, I'm telling you, is absolutely. Ryan and I, the guy that runs the back of my dealership, discuss this twice a week. As a matter of fact, we had a car yesterday, 121 days old. 121 days old, still in arbitration. And I'm calling Ryan and I'm going, "Ryan, what the fuck is going on?" And he's like, "Anthony, you don't understand. We get the car. We look at it. We tell them it has a problem. We send it to Manheim. It's got to get towed there. They keep it there for 3 weeks. They tell us it doesn't have a problem. We bring it back. The problem's still there. We send it back. They say they want to send it to Honda. We send it to Honda. Honda says it has a problem. We send it back. They say they don't want to listen to Honda. They want to have another person look at it." And I'm like, this is fucking nuts, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
We had tried
here,
to avoid sending them back to Manheim at all costs, because almost every time you send it back and they're like, "Oh, no, nothing's wrong." Like, you gotta
yeah,
be
and
kidding.
here's why, right? They go, "Well, this is a Honda seller. We have a very specific process we have to follow." And I'm like, fuck, dude, I bought 50 cars last week. Do you know what the fees were on those 50 cars? Do you know what I'm paying you per month? I mean, I understand it's Honda Financial Services and we have a specific kind of policy that we have to follow, but this motherfucker has come in here, it had a problem, we sent it to you, they said it didn't have a problem, we send it back to Honda. Next thing you know, it's 121 fucking days and we still fighting about arbitration. So I told Ryan, I told everybody, I said, "Look, if a car goes past 25 days, you need to call every fucking day, 2-3 times a day. What's going on? What's the problem? And it's just, I'm telling you, the amount of time that it takes to arbitrate a car sometimes, it's asinine. It's fucking
ridiculous.
asinine.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then trying to get a hold of somebody, and it's and then you got to email. So the one I had now is I had two where we're trying to get reimbursed for our transport, and we emailed it to the arbitrator. Nothing. Crickets. Email and text my rep, who apparently is not a rep. Nothing. Crickets. Finally, I get a hold of whoever I can get a hold of. Go, "What is going on?" and apparently the guy's on vacation.
Yeah.
So fucking, I just sit here and wait.
I don't know, and I don't have the answers. I don't claim to have the answers. And we're probably just on here bitching about things that everybody knows. And, so it's unfortunate. There are some things you can do to combat it that we've done that has helped us some, but it requires a level of commitment that most people don't have. Look, I tell you again, before we buy a car, we look at everything. Let me give you an example, okay? Over the last 14 years of my life, have been burnt so many fucking times buying cars, and each time I get burned, I remember. So I'll give you an example. You buy a car, it comes in, one owner, clean Carfax, electrical issue that's non-arbitratable. You open up the Carfax, it's been to the dealer 7 times for an electrical issue. So then what do you say? You say, all right, let's start reading the Carfax. So then you make your mind up that we're going to read every Carfax. You get a car in, has an electrical issue. You look at the auto check. It shows that it had an electrical issue on the auto check. So you start reading every auto check. So now, prior to purchasing a car, we read and analyze every single auto check, every single Carfax, and every single CR. We look for issues that happen prior to us obviously bidding on the car. And we take that into consideration when we're buying a car. If a car has been to the dealer 5 times for an electrical issue, I'm not buying the motherfucker. I'm just not doing it. I don't give a shit. I'm not gambling on it. And let me tell all you motherfuckers out there that go out and you buy these as-is cars and then bitch that they're as-is. I have no sympathy for you. I don't have sympathy for you. Now, when you buy a green light car and it's not on the Carfax and it's not on the auto check and it's not on the CR and there's an issue, then I have sympathy for you. And I believe that should be on the seller. But if the seller is out there trying to fuck you and you know he's trying to fuck you and you don't do your due diligence, then it's your fault. We do due diligence on every single car we purchase, every single time without fail. And so I never have any kind of issue with calling up the auction and saying, this is fucking bullshit, and I'm not taking this car back. It is fucking getting arbitrated, and I don't give a shit what you or anybody else says. I will fight to the end. And generally, the car goes back. I would say out of 100 cars, we end up in a situation where we're wrong about an arbitratable issue one time.
Yeah. Yeah, same. It's not very often we're wrong. And usually when the auction says that we're wrong, we're usually not.
Yeah. Because I'm buying these cars to sell them. I'm not fucking buying these cars to arbitrate them.
Yeah, that does sound good.
Yeah, I'm buying the motherfuckers to retail them to make money. It's not helpful for me to buy a car and arbitrate it. It's just not.
I think sometimes they think we benefit, like we get bonus points for arbitrating a car.
Yeah. I wish that look, when I was young, I used to tell everybody, I wish everyone could spend 2 summers waiting tables, because it would change the way you see people and it would change the way you deal with and treat other people. I wish everyone could own a car dealership for a year and understand how difficult it is and how many different hats you have to wear. And just like my number one priority is making sure that our customers and our employees are taken care of. And I try to treat everyone like I would treat my own family. I really do. And that has been a big key to our success. But this is a tough world we live in.
Yep. It is tough, man. Who knows? And it probably ain't getting fixed anytime soon, but there's got to be a better way, right?
There's got to be a better way. Well, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to keep working until I figure it out.
Anyways, that's actually not what we were going to talk about today.
Yeah.
I got you off subject pretty quick.
Yeah, you did. And we'll probably be getting kicked out of Mannheim and banned and everything else for that deal that we just had. Would be nice if they reached out and said, hey, Anthony, you buy 50 cars a week and you have these feelings. How do you think we could solve some of these problems?
You want to know what's interesting? So I've posted a couple videos about some problems that I have had with a couple sellers. I don't know if I should name them, or should I name them? They took care of me.
Yeah.
So Give Me the VIN was one. I bought one, had a serious Odo problem. And I mean, clear, not the guy at the Quick Lube place fat fingered it. Clear Odo problem. And the auction said, no, it's fine. Sorry, you can't arbitrate it based on the condition or on the Carfax, blah, 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 it's fine. Well, Give Me the VIN reached out to me and took the car back on their own accord. So I thought that was super cool. And then I did another one with who was it? I think it was Bid and Win was the seller. And same thing, they took care of me when the auction wasn't going to take care of me. So there are some great sellers out there. And as you establish a relationship, I've got a couple wholesalers that I buy cars from. And when I see a car in lane that's theirs, I know that if I have a problem, I'm probably not even going to go to the auction. I'm just going to call them and go, hey, James, I bought this car in your lane. Can you take care of me? It needs whatever. So as you establish some relationships, that helps because there are some good sellers out there, and the auction fucking makes it harder than it should be.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and there's times when, the seller wants to do the right thing and the auction tries to block them from doing it.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me. But, we are where we are, and we got to do what we got to do to continue moving forward. What was it that you wanted to discuss today that we got off topic about?
Yeah, so I am just getting into the CP business. We're finally at the point where we are about caught up with our internal work. And for those who don't know, internal is my shop working on my own cars. And about a year and a half ago, we opened up and I went out and bought 100 cars and told my shop, all right, get them all through. Well, it took time. Our sales increased and the shop never really caught up. We're at the point now, I will probably be 100% caught up in a week or so, to the point where they're outpacing sales pretty significantly. So I've got 6 technicians in my shop, best mechanics that I've had, and I don't want to have them sitting around. And so I go, shoot, we need to start dipping our toe in the water into some customer pay work, CP work. And I'm thinking about kind of reverse engineering all the conversations we had in my franchise world of how do we retain customers, the drop-off rate post-warranty at the franchise stores is dramatic. Once the car's out of warranty, people don't service there anymore. The biggest defection points are brakes and tires. We used to love it when somebody said, oh, I'm going to go to discount. It was very hard selling tires at the dealership for whatever reason, partly because people don't think of the dealership in tires, partly pricing, partly inventory. We would have to get them in that afternoon or whatever. People are waiting. But that was the biggest defection point. So if they said, I'm going to go to discount, we thought that was awesome because discount doesn't even do alignments. They do no work, just the tires. But if they go to Firestone or Goodyear or Joe's repair shop to get their tires, first thing they do is, where do you get your service work done at? Oh, I get it done at the Ford House down the road. Oh my gosh, their labor rates are so high and they make you wait forever. And they get under their car and they're like, oh, look at this. This is shaking. They didn't tell you about this. And next thing you know, that shop has a brand new customer. And the independents for years have been trying to conquest the franchise customers. And they're very, very good at it. The average age of the car on the road right now is the oldest it's ever been. I think it's 12 years. People are keeping their cars longer for an affordability reason. The cars are better, all of those things. So now I'm thinking, how do I conquest some of these customers from the franchise stores? So we came up with a good brake special. We came up with a good tire special. I got a hold of my tire vendor, had her ask me to give me the most popular tire sizes. I'm going to have a good, better, best. On my website, I'm going to make it SEO and AI crawlable. A lot of things that people don't even think about. You can't have a picture. It needs to be HTML code. The Google bots need to be able to crawl on it. So all of these things that I would always try and protect myself with at the franchise world, now I'm trying to expose it in the franchise world. TPMS sensors that are $250 at the dealer. And it's interesting. I was talking to one of my dealer friends and his gross is about flat year over year the last 3 years, but his RO count is down. And the way he's overcoming the decrease in RO count is he's increasing his labor rate and his parts markup. The problem with that is you can shear a sheep 1,000 times. You can only skin them once. So as their RO count is decreasing, they're also going to start losing more customers. And then they're going to reach that apex of, shoot, I can't increase my labor rate anymore. I'm at the max and my RO count is going to continue to decrease. And so that's something that I'm trying to capitalize on. And my franchise buddies are trying to minimize it. And so it's something that we're going to work really hard on. We've got a full shop. We've got an alignment rack. We've got an on-car brake lathe. We've got, I mean, all the stuff a regular shop has. And on top of that, we've got the computer programs to where I don't have to send anything out to the dealer anymore. We've got the Mopar program, the Chevy program. We've got the Forescan for Ford. We've got everything. So I can flash. I can do absolutely everything the dealer can. And we can do it cheaper and probably even better than the dealer. So that's something that we're really focusing just now, starting to focus on to see what we can do to try and get some customer pay service work in.
These labor rates have really gotten out of control.
Dude,
I mean, they have gotten
$250 an hour.
How much?
$250 at a franchise store.
We're at.
There was a Chevy store that just, I got a warranty claim and he was $250 an hour. And I go, dude, car guy to car guy, can you help me out? And he's legitimately said, I was talking to GM, why would I give up my revenue to help you out? Okay.
I mean, $250 an hour to get your car fixed. That is insane. I remember when Mercedes back pre-COVID was like $145, and I thought that was insane.
Yeah. I thought it was, we raised ours to $159 in Denver and then $199 and shit. They're probably $249 right now as well. And it's tough because all the special tools and the training you have to do, and it's an expensive business, but man, at some point you reach that max and you're just the customers are going to go, nope, sorry, I can't do that.
I don't know who can afford that now. I mean, $250 an hour, that's a lot of money. You got to have a serious pocketbook to be able to afford $250 an hour in labor. I mean, it would seem to me the easiest way to combat the franchises with a shop would be to charge, $125 or $145 an hour.
Yeah, we're $150. So we feel like that is, it's enough because I pay my tax very well. So it's enough to cover that and enough to be fair and help generate a little bit of profit for the store and be very fair for the customer. And the other thing too is my guys are paid hourly, so we'll use book time, but at the end of the day, we're trying to take care of the customer even if we're getting hammered on the book time. So that's one thing that's different for us. And we really try and go above and beyond and try and get them in and do those things that the dealers, they're just not very flexible. The dealers aren't. And that's where we're hoping, besides price, but also a higher level of service. That's where we are hoping that the separation happens.
I've run service departments for the last 14 years owning a car dealership, but I've never been big into customer pay because we've always sold more than we can produce, which has always put me in a situation where I never really saw a benefit in working on customer cars. So if I could hire another mechanic, I always used that mechanic to produce more cars to sell. And that's still kind of the consensus at Hampstead Pre-Owned, so it's just something that's been difficult.
It was the same thing for us too. We would have people show up. We had a couple customers show up that thought we were the Toyota store still because we bought the old Toyota facility. And I'm such an empath that I would always try and squeeze them in. And, I changed a couple light bulbs and put on some wiper blades myself because I just love helping people. But I remember I had a service manager and he was trying to increase the CP work. I loved where his head was at, but I'm like, dude, you're taking that guy off that car to do an RO that's going to generate me $200 in profit versus that car that I need to get in is already sold and it's got $3,000 in profit. Like what makes the most sense? And so kind of like what you were saying is you've got to, go where is my, because that time, that labor time, the time in the day is a finite resource. So where am I best deploying that resource? And usually it's in our own internal cars. We're fortunate now, or unfortunate, I guess, maybe we should be selling more, but we're fortunate now to where we're caught up a little bit. And so it's at the point where it's like, okay, let's dip our toe in the water with some CP work and see what happens. Now, I don't know how it's going to go, and you obviously can't just announce to the world, hey, I'm doing some CP work, and people are going to start beating your door down. You've got to do some marketing and some advertising, and we'll probably start with our own customers who have bought from us and then go from there.
All right, I'm going to ask you a few questions before we wrap this up that came in from different people, okay? And you'll have to put your franchise hat on because some of them, I'm sure, are a little more franchise related than independent related. But the first one is, who owns decline service follow-ups in your service department? So I'm going to
God
phrase
dang.
this
Yeah.
currently and when you were the GM of the Chevy store. Answer from both hats.
Yeah. So the first initial and easy answer is the advisor. Advisor owns decline services. The reality of that is they don't have time. They just don't. I think if you've got a good decline service process, it's either some sort of automated / AI process or service BDC. I think that's the only thing. I think we put so much on the advisors. They've got the hardest job in the dealership. And I got some advisors going, yeah, they do. They really do. Tough job. And to ask them to then also update all their customers and do all the things that they need to do throughout the day that they don't already have enough time for. Oh, and then by the way, that customer that turned down the brake job 3 days ago, I need you to call them back and try and sell them the brake job. I think that's unrealistic. I think if you really, truly want to go after decline services, you're going to have some sort of automated system, and there's some good ones out there, or you're going to have a service BDC.
All right. Ready? Here's the next one. What's one thing that instantly improves CSI without spending any money?
ESI. ESI equals CSI. If you have happy employees, you're going to have happy customers. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. That and empowerment. I think if you empower your team to make the right decision, and hopefully they will make the right decision, then man, that's incredible. So many times I see employees go, ooh, no, I'm not doing that. And they kind of hold firm on whatever with the customer because they're afraid of getting reprimanded, or they're afraid that they don't have the horsepower to be able to make that decision. And that creates friction. It creates a problem with the customer. And it's just, doesn't make any sense. Here's an example. I had a customer bought a Kia from us in, I don't know, it was like October. It was a while ago, 6 or 8 months ago. And supposedly we offered the customer an antenna, the little plastic shark fin antenna, I guess, was broke off. Service manager's like, man, he bought it forever ago. He doesn't have a warranty. He doesn't have a WIO. He's got nothing. I'm going to tell him, he doesn't get it. And I said, well, how much is it? He said, $25. Buy the antenna. It's a customer of ours. They bought their car from us. Buy the antenna. And then when he's here, ask him if he needs an oil change, So
I can't tell you how many times when I first started that I would get on and read some of my competitors' reviews, and I would just be blown the fuck away by what they would allow to turn into a bad review. I mean, crazy shit. Like, I bought a car and it didn't have a hubcap, and they promised me a hubcap. So I came back a week later for my hubcap, and the owner told me to go fuck myself. And so one of the salespeople had to come out of his own pocket to buy a hubcap because he felt bad. These are real reviews. I'm not kidding you. I'm not joking you. I mean, this was on Google, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, 4 hubcaps are $39 from
Amazon.
Amazon or what is that one? CarQuest, right? Yeah. I mean, you're going to allow yourself to get a bad review for $35, and they only wanted one, and so it's always amazing to me how little dealers are willing to reinvest into customers they already have sold a car to. Because to me, those are the most important customers. We spend all this money to get them in the door.
Yeah, to try and generate new customers, right?
We just want to throw them in the trash. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And so those are my 2 suggestions. Have happy employees, which I don't know how you necessarily quantify that or do that day one. But second thing would be empower your staff to make decisions to take care of the customers. And my overreaching, guiding moral compass / philosophy is treat everybody like mom, dad, brother, sister. Doesn't mean I'm going to give everything away to every single customer that has a problem, but it means I'm going to try and solve the problem. You got a problem? You know what? I'll pay for parts, you pay for labor, or vice versa, or split it with me 50-50. Or if you had a warranty, it would have been a $200 deductible, pay me $200, I'll take care of the rest. Just something showing that you're trying to take care of the customer.
What are some things that you wish your service department did better?
My current service department is perfect, just in case they're listening to the podcast. Man.
I have it. I'll answer.
Yeah.
So for me, I hate comebacks. Now, a
Yeah.
lot of comebacks are not preventable. Okay, they're just not. I've been in the car business long enough to understand they're not
Especially
preventable.
with used cars. Yeah.
Yeah, I do wish that we went a little bit further to prevent a car from ever coming back. We slowed down to speed up. We took a little bit more time to take a little bit less time. That's what I wish my service department did a little bit better. I'll tell you, I have a lot of talent in my service department. I learned a lot through the years in operating service departments. A lot of that I have conveyed to Josh, and Josh has put into place. We've went through a lot of the same trials and tribulations. He went through a lot of the trials and tribulations that I went through, and I helped him kind of grow through that to the best of my ability. But I will tell you that I hate comebacks, and I wish we did a better job with comebacks.
Yeah. That is frustrating. I think some of it is the nature of the beast. I think some of it is sometimes we're going too fast and we are trying to do whatever we're trying to do, move on to the next one. And sometimes it's sales fault, right? They're pushing, I got this sold, I got this. And we don't take that time to really slow down. But yeah, that is, it's frustrating for the customer, frustrating for the salesperson. And I know the technician doesn't like it. They've got pride in what they do. But that is, yeah, that's a tough one.
What is something that your service department does really well that other people could learn from?
I think they do very good on an inspection. They take their time, they put a 20, 30-minute drive on it. We scan every car when it first comes in. I think a lot of recon shops don't do that. And that's important because there could be a
Got
stored
you to
code
do
in it.
that? Who
What's that?
got you to do that? Who got you to
Anthony.
do that?
Yeah, we weren't doing it before. Now I make them do it and I make them take a picture of the scanner. And so if there's a stored code, look into it. If it's a low voltage deal, then clear it and move on. But if it's like, hey, this might be a problem down the road, I don't want the check engine light to pop on for the customer. Let's fix it now so we don't have that come back. But I think that's something that we do really well. We really try and act like it's a car that we're going to buy for ourselves. Like, how much effort would you put into that car if it was something you were going to buy for yourself or for your wife or for your kid?
Well, when I talk to my mechanics, this is what I tell them. I want you to pretend like you're putting your kid in this car. I
Yeah.
want you to look at it as if you're putting your kid in this car. And one of the things that I think we do well as a service department is from a safety standpoint, we touch everything. We're never going to sell you a car with bad brakes, bad rotors, bad tires. You know, we are looking at everything as far as a safety inspection is concerned and doing our very, 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 very best job to make sure that every single car we put on the road is extremely safe. And I believe that with all of my heart. And that's something I think we do here. And one of the other things that I think we do a little bit better than most is we follow a pretty strict process. Our process could be better, but we follow a pretty strict process. So the last question we have is this. How do you keep your customers from leaving your shop and going to another shop? How do you prevent customers from ever, I guess, stopping to come to you for service?
I think you got to take care of them from the very beginning and show them that you have their best interest in mind. I remember this gal I dated and she had something going on with her little Lexus. And I said, well, just take it into the dealer. She goes, man, I hate going into the dealer because every time I'm there, they try and sell me something. And that stuck in my mind forever because that's what we do. We do an MPI, we try and sell them something. But if you can go, hey, you know what? Your car's awesome. You need nothing. Or, you know what? The brakes are, they're on the edge. Nothing we need to look at today, but maybe 6 months or 12 months from now, just keep that in the back of your mind, something we might need to do. Just little things like that that show that you care. People are creatures of habit. They don't want to change service departments. It's uncomfortable. They got to get to know somebody. And it's getting harder and harder, especially with oil change frequencies being once a year. Sometimes you're seeing less and less of the customers. So I think, really taking care of that customer, building a little bit of rapport with them as best you can is a big deal. And it goes a long way.
So let's combine that with one other thing that I think is important because I think you touched on something that is really critical, and that's treat others the way that you would want to be treated. If your mother or your sister or your wife went into a dealership, you wouldn't want that dealership trying to take advantage of them. Don't try to take advantage of your customers, and your customers will be loyal to you. That's number one. Number two, one of the things that we do at Hampstead Pre-Owned that's really effective is you get free oil changes as long as you keep up with the recommended services. So if we recommend that you do a service, you get free oil change. Now, with that being said, we don't ever recommend a service for a car that doesn't need it. And I'll be honest with you, we don't have a lot of customer pay work because I don't want it. I don't deal in that area very well right now. We have a lot of cars we have to produce. We buy a lot of cars. We sell a lot of cars. And so I'm thankful to have those problems. But for our customers that we do have and the customer work that we do, that has proved to be extremely effective.
And that's, you know, what's interesting is you go to the dealerships will recommend services that don't need to be done. I remember General Motors not recommending the BG transmission flushes, and the dealers are, you know, pushing that because the advisor's getting spiffed from BG and blah, blah, blah. And so they're pushing services that don't need to be done. So that's, again, that's a great way to establish trust with that customer.
Well, my friend, we've been on for almost an hour, and as usual, it has been a pleasure. I love getting to spend time with you and learn from you and talk to you, and hopefully other people are enjoying this podcast as much as everyone else is, the two watchers that we have. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and Josh and I are always here, and remember, we want some guests, so if you are in the automotive industry, whether you're a salesperson or a service writer or a technician or a vendor or somebody that just wants to come on and shoot the shit with us, we'd always love to have you on. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.
There we go.